Thank you. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano is recognized.
Gandang tanghali po, Madam Secretary. Hindi po ako oppositor, katabi ko lang po yung oppositor. Just one manifestation and then one clarification. The manifestation, I think it is very good that we are all being honest here, and if there are any conflict of interest, it is being discussed openly, no? But may I also clarify that being in the business, being a consultant, is also a plus for the oppositor or for the secretary, because if we're going to disqualify everyone here who is either in the business or has anything to know about mining, we will have witnesses who do not have conflict of interest but who do not know anything about geology, mining, etc. Ano? So I welcome it, Madam Secretary, when we say na you're in this and that, etc. But for the public at lahat nandito, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're incompetent or they should not testify, because precisely that's their expertise. May clarification lang, ma'am. What about the Lobok allegation? So is there such a company? Is it really a watershed, and is it really operating and it was not included in those closures? That's my question, madam.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, can I answer?
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Balfour has no MPSA. It has no MPSA. Can you give? It has no MPSA. It has no MPSA.
So, Mr. Chair,
It's not operational, and it has no MPSA.
so, Mr. Chair, may we clarify what's the status? So there is a company there, and it is on a watershed, except that it is not operational and there's no MPSA. Is that correct? I just want to know the status so that I can compare it with the statement of the oppositor.
Yes, please, Madam Secretary, can you answer that
I'm sorry.
question?
Yes, Balfour has not commenced. They were not given. Ay, sweetheart, can you? They were not given permits by DNR. And then
The site was cleared because there was a construction permit sometime mid last year, but no activity for the past.
there's no activity for the past 5 months. Whatever, I give my commitment to the honorable body. I'm non-negotiable on this stand. There should not be any extractive activity within watersheds. I have been told that there's no MPSA, and if there has been and it slipped, I will immediately do show cause for that also. There's no sacred cow here. There should be no extractive or anything putting at risk the ecology in watershed areas, which puts at risk our water supply. That's
Mr.
my
Chair,
commitment.
Thank you, Madam
Mr. Chair,
Secretary.
May I just like to be
Senator Alan Peter Cayetano is
Sorry,
recognized.
Madam Secretary, Mr. Chair, I just like to be fully clarified on that, because the no sacred cows is a general statement.
Yeah,
And-
sorry.
Yes, and I agree with you. And so far, no, absent the statement of the oppositor, so far you've shown that, di ba, with the number of closure orders, audit, etc. But precisely what the oppositor is now saying is that there is one sacred cow, which is in Lobok. So you said that it has not been operating the last 5 months. So does that mean that it was operating, and then is construction proceeding there? Or meaning, Mr. Chair, if they are on a watershed and they did not get the same kind of closure order that the others that were in the waiting shed, watershed got, then in fact they are a sacred cow, because somehow DNR, maybe not because of the office of the secretary, maybe people under you passed over it. So maybe not to prolong, Mr. Chair, unless we're voting today, they can give us a full briefing or the papers and...
No, we're not voting
Yes,
today because...
if we're not, may I be clarified further at a later time or regarding that, and from both sides, no, from the oppositor and from the DNR. But may I just ask that question? Is it true that construction is continuing and is being done as we speak in that is it the power plant?
I was just given the report. There's no construction. There's site preparation. There's no permit, and they're just keeping the place clean. And IPAT, there's no MPSA? There's no, USEC IPAT, they couldn't do anything because there are no permits. USEC IPAT is my esteemed USEC for legal.
Is under MRL, not Balfour, the one that's operating.
The MPSA is under, sorry, MRL. There's no relation to Balfour at all. What's MRL?
It's a different company.
Okay, the MPSA is under MRL, which is a different company, but there's no relation to Balfour whatsoever. Sir, I totally agree with you with what you said about. Yeah.
So there's a MPSA.
No, none.
None?
The MPSA is to MRL, which is a different company, but not to Balfour.
Mr. Chair, it's like this. Mr.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It's a question of fact. The fact is, there is a company called First Balfour, and they're mining aggregates in Lobo. That it's even in their website. You can check the website right now. Okay. Second, it's in a watershed because everything is in a watershed. Even this building is in a watershed. What you need to distinguish are what we call proclaimed or critical watershed. So when you say no mining in a watershed, we will kill the economy because there will be no construction. How will we get all of the raw materials? This is what I'm saying. I'm the issue of competence. How can you have a blanket definition of something that you don't understand?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Opositor.
Sir, I never said that we shouldn't quarry, no? I do accept that my definition of open pit mine is the use of explosives, where you do an open pit and you hit a water table, and the aquifer that should go to the people goes in fact to an open pit. Clearly we need quarrying.
Thank you.
I come from a business family, no? You need to quarry, but we should just not do it within a watershed because you will affect the lives of millions of people.
Thank you,
That's
Madam
all.
Secretary. And may we call now...
Just a last point, Mr. Chair. Madam Secretary, I was telling Senator Recto, I feel your passion, when you were speaking and everything. And, this is all about a balance. But I just heard you say that that's not your definition of open pit mining. And I will have a problem with that because there is an internationally accepted scientific definition for open pit mining. And everyone knows that, for example, cement. When you get cement, that's open pit mining. So if the Secretary and the DNR are now going to say that we're going to have our own definitions different from the definitions of the industry or experts, how will we now, when we go to court or when we go to the committee or they do the appeal, how can we now talk apples to apples, no? So meaning, Mr. Chair, hindi po pwedeng iba definition nila sa open pit mining, iba definition ng industry, iba definition ng CA. Hindi tayo magkakaintindihan. But I was surprised because nga Holcim moved to the city of Taguig. And when I learned about the ban on mining sa Davao, I learned that in the past, no, hindi na pinadagdagan ni Mayor Duterte, but dun sa cement, because doble, triple ang presyo ng semento sa buong Mindanao, kung isasara yung mga cement operations sa Mindanao, but this is open pit mining. Open pit siya, no? So I get what you're trying to say, Madam Secretary, no? You're trying to measure the damage to the environment. But we cannot have different terms and then agree. I think we should all. So is it or is it not? So like quarrying, cement mining, are these all open pit, di ba?
Thank you.
Sir, I will admit I am accessing the consultancy of Leo Gesereno. He's been 38 years in the industry, and I would presume that his definition of open pit is probably what runs in the industry. So, quarry is surface mining. It's surface. You're getting the surface. An open pit looks like a cone. You do explosives and you want the minerals underground. When you do the surface, surface mining is you take away the trees and then because you need the lime. And what I'm saying is that in a watershed, to do explosives which look like a cone, an open pit is like a cone, and then you hit the water table there. That's not acceptable in a watershed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Senator Ping Lacson
I
is
have a
recognized.
question, Mr. Chairman. We've been talking of MPSA, but to us, we who are not involved in the mining business, we do not know what MPSA means. It's mineral production sharing agreement, but
Yes.
why or how do you approve or disapprove such? Is that a permit?
It's a permit, sir.
Pardon the naivete, no? But,
That's okay, because I'm also...
Yeah, please educate us, ano?
Yeah.
Kasi hindi namin alam kung
what
paano
hap-
nakukuha, anong requirements,
Yes.
and why would you approve or disapprove an MPSA?
An MPSA is a mineral product sharing agreement, and it's an agreement with the state, with the country that they can mine the area. So they do exploration, and then when they see that there are mineral deposits and it's good business to mine, then the state grants them an MPSA, which is an agreement for them to mine, to get the mineral deposits.
How does one get qualified or disqualified in getting MPSA from DNR?
They apply, and then we investigate on the parameters
What
of
are
the
the requirements, ma'am?
Yes, on the environment being a key facet of that. And I have just recently made a policy in DNR that no MPSA should ever be given in watershed areas because of the effect of the mining on the water supply of our people.
Thank you,
No,
Madam Secretary.
what are the requirements for applying for an MPSA? What would disqualify you from getting an MPSA, and what would qualify you from getting for getting an MPSA?
Well, they need first. I think they should explore, no, to see if it's a good business deal for them, and then if they apply, and then we decide on the parameters on which an MPSA should run. The mining company should run.
I don't think I'm getting the correct response. Mr. Chairman.
There is criteria on which a mine should it operate. And these criteria are listed in the rules and regulations of MPSAs. When the application to run an MPSA is given,
Madam
then
Secretary, the question is what are the requirements to get MPSA or to
Mr. Chairman, ang question ko po is also a test of competence. Di ba?
yes,
Being the DNR Secretary, we'd like to find out if the Secretary is competent enough to know and to tell us kung ano ba yung...
what is MPSA
Yeah,
and
ano,
what is the
criteria.
requirements?
Yeah.
can I answer, Mr. Chair?
Okay, go ahead, Madam
Okay.
Secretary.
I'm going to be honest and admit that I'm literature and psychology and philosophy. I'm going to be really honest, but I love the environment.
We understand,
I have
Mr.
20, 30
Secretary.
years doing development work, so I'm really not a miner. Okay, but I have consultants, and this is what they tell me. Okay, so these are the mandatory requirements for MPSA. For an individual, there has to be a location map sketch plan of the proposed contract. There has to be a 3-year development utilization work program. There has to be proof of technical competence. There has to be proof of financial capability. There has to be a mining project feasibility study. It's long. I mean, this whole book is there. I don't know it by heart, and nor can I claim the arrogance of knowing it by heart. But I have people who I trust, and then they will advise me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, I just want to say...
Thank you. Thank you,
sorry.
yes, Congresswoman. Congressman Sato muna, Sato. Congresswoman Sato is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I mean, nobody can question the passion of the Honorable Secretary when it comes to protecting the environment. But, Madam Chairman, Madam Secretary, the MPSA, is it a license or a permit coming from the government, or is it an agreement or a contract?
Okay, it's a mining contract between the government and the mining company. I'm sorry, I will admit I'm really not a technical person at all, In fact, I find, but that's why I have people who I trust. I mean, it takes, when you want to make a difference, you get different, my skills are different, no? And so you put that, if you will question my technical ability on mining, I'm gonna fail dismally because I'm really not a technical person. I just want to do, yeah.
Maybe you can ask help in answering the question. If it is a contract or an agreement, are the basis for canceling or terminating this contract or agreement?
Okay, I can answer that.
Yes.
Okay, so in the Mining Act, as I have said there before, that the mandate of DNR is to maneuver the resources, I mean, not in the exact words, no, is to maneuver the resources of the country such that it doesn't impinge on the quality of life of present and future generations. That's the mandate of DNR.
Madam,
I have the grounds here, sir. And these are the grounds for cancellation.
excuse me, Madam Secretary. The chair would like to be clarified on your statement that you are not technically prepared.
Yes.
And that the issue now raised by Congresswoman Sato is that as if you issued an order based on the cancellation order based on the recommendation of your staff?
No, I issued an order, a show cause, for 75 MPSAs because they are in watersheds. And, they're not all proclaimed watersheds, I will agree, but a watershed is a watershed is a watershed. And a law does not make a watershed a watershed. I mean, a watershed is a watershed because it functions as a watershed and it supports life. And to do any kind of extractive industry near rivers and streams will affect human life there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
in the
Senator Soto.
if I hear another outburst from the gallery, I will have them removed by the Sergeant at Arms. I will move that everybody be removed from the hall.
Everybody is
Chairman.
reminded to please refrain from reacting for any
Mr.
statement.
Chairman, the reaction from the
yes.
galleries, particularly from the same area, and I think it's aimed to belittle or distract the nominee.
Yes, we are now warning them, no? So there be any reaction again, then we will advise the Secretary General to escort them outside. Please, Congresswoman Sato, continue.
Yes. So what are the grounds for the cancellation of MPSA?
The grounds for, can I answer?
Please proceed.
Okay. So the grounds for canceling an MPSA are the non-filling of requirements, the violation of the terms and conditions of permits of agreement, the non-payment of taxes, the suspension or cancellation of tax incentives, the falsehood or omission of facts.
But there is a formal proceedings before an MPSA is cancelled. So as, to prove that all these violations were committed. Is that correct?
Yes, and I have followed that. So actually, the MPSAs are not yet canceled because the procedure is that you give show cause, and then based on that show cause, they can then appeal to the President, and then only when the President makes a decision is it final and executory. But I have started it, and the basis of the cancellation is what's written in the Mining Act, in that it is the duty of DNR to maneuver the resources of this country such that it doesn't affect the quality of life of our people. That's the backing I have from the law.
Mr. Chairman, Do I understand that these 75 MPSAs are not yet canceled? So what is the status of these 75 MPSAs?
I gave a show cause, ma'am. So you give a show cause, and then if they don't give an appeal, then it's canceled, right? But then if they appeal, show cause, then they will comment, and then it's final. Okay, so we give show cause, and then they have to answer, because we'll say this is the reason why we're canceling the MPSA, and then they will comment on that, and then based on their comment, then the decision is made. And then they can appeal to the president. And then even after I decide, they can appeal to the president. When the president decides, then it's final and executory.
So there is no formal hearing?
No, it's not necessary to have a formal hearing.
Okay. Ma'am, I would just also want to be educated because we're talking about watersheds here.
Yes.
What is stated in the law? That we cannot mine in any and all watersheds. Does the law state that we cannot mine only in declared watersheds or critical watersheds? So can you please educate me on this?
The law specifically says that there should be no mining in critical watersheds. However, as DNR Secretary, I have the prerogative to make decisions on whether there should be mining in watersheds at all, whether they are proclaimed or not. It is totally within my mandate.
So even if the law specifically states that you cannot mine only in proclaimed and critical watersheds, the Secretary of Environment and Natural Resources can motu proprio decide and cancel mining operations in all watersheds?
In all watersheds, yes, that's correct.
So aren't we violating the law here?
No, because I can. I mean, it's totally within my mandate. It's written in the Mining Act to take care of the country's resources such that it doesn't adversely affect human life. I'm totally within my mandate. It's my duty and obligation to make sure that the resources of this country are not utilized in a way that benefits our communities.
Ma'am, as I've said, I admire your passion to protect the environment, and I share that passion.
Yes.
My concern is the law. I mean, being lawmakers here, we would want to know
I understand.
the definition of a critical and proclaimed watershed. Because if there is something lacking in the law, then we should file a bill or a law, pass a law to declare all watersheds as that no mining activities can be conducted in all watersheds, because I believe that we have to follow what is stated in the law.
Can I answer? Okay, within my mandate as DNR Secretary, it is in my mandate to institute certain policies.
Congressman, with your permission, just one question, Madam Secretary. Is, obviously there is a standard. You cannot mine in critical and proclaimed watersheds.
Yes,
That is the standard imposed by law.
yes.
Now, is there a definition of what is critical? Or is that left to your discretion?
The president proclaims. Okay, what the law does not say. Again, can I repeat that? The law does not say that only. It's a bit of a gray area here, but the law does not say that only critical areas are no-go. It doesn't say that.
What does it say, ma'am?
It says that we should not mine. Can you move me? It says that critical watersheds are no-go areas. But it doesn't stop the DNR Secretary from saying that making a policy that if it's a watershed and human life depends on it and there are communities that depend on it, there should be no mining
That's
there.
where maybe you cannot get an agreement from many legislators because the law says critical. And therefore, that is the standard imposed on the Secretary and on the DNR, that the watershed must be critical in order that mining will be prohibited. We cannot just say that, we have the mandate to ban everything. That is where probably you should make a fine distinction and the definition
Yeah.
of your power to cancel MPSA.
Sir, I will read to you the law.
Mr. Chairman, related to
Senator
the
Lacson is
question of
recognized.
Senator Drilon and Congresswoman Sato.
Before I
Next.
recognize Senator Lacson, before you proceed, I just to remind everyone, the members, the oppositors, the appointee, that before you speak, please ask permission to the chair to be recognized. Thank you.
My question is, and I would like to address this to the Secretary, who makes the proclamation that a watershed is critical? Is it the President? Must there be a presidential proclamation that such a watershed is critical?
Yes, there was an executive order proclaiming.
On a case-to-case basis?
There was an executive order proclaiming 143 critical watersheds, and these areas are clearly no-go zones. I just want to read to the esteemed body the Mining Act again, if I may, sir, if I may, of 1995. That this is a policy. This is the Act of we will enhance national growth in a way that effectively safeguards the environment and protects the rights of the affected community. It's in the Mining Act. And then in Section 8, it says the department, DNR, shall be the primary government agency responsible, and I can underline that, responsible for the conservation, management, development, and proper, and I want to underline again, proper use of the state's mineral resources, including those in watersheds, reservations, and lands of the public domain. Then after that, the Mining Act goes on to say, DNR shall adhere to the principle of sustainable development, which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs, with the view of improving the total quality of life both now and in the future.